Portland, Oregon. By late 1989, the apartment building on Blackwood Street stood completely empty. Within a 6-month window, every single tenant had broken their lease and moved out. City officials formally condemned the structure, citing severe asbestos contamination and unsafe construction. But retired police officers kept a different set of records. They focused quietly on a single unit that no investigator could explain, apartment 714. Every missing person linked to the building had lived in that exact room. Looking at this vintage police transcript from 1989, a terrifying pattern emerges. Hidden inside the old archives are dozens of 911 calls originating from 714. Every recording ended with dead air, right after the caller whispered the same phrase, "Someone just walked in." The problem with these calls is structural. This schematic blueprint shows the official city layout. Counting upward, construction stops definitively at floor 6. Look at the empty space above the 6th floor roof. There was never a 7th floor. Apartment 714 is a physical impossibility. Blackwood is a structural paradox. The tenants who vanished did not walk away into the city. They disappeared into a space that, according to the laws of physics, is not there. Decades later, investigative journalist Marcus Hale assembled a documentary crew to explore the condemned property. He brought along historian Noah Reed, sound engineer Emma Collins, camerawoman Julia Carter, and former detective Richard Lawson, who had investigated the original 1980s disappearances. Before crossing the threshold, Lawson issued one strict rule to the crew. If they somehow reached 714, they were never to open the front door after midnight, regardless of who or what was knocking. Inside, the physical environment contradicted itself. Broken windows and rotting walls lined the perimeter, but the interior hallways were entirely free of dust. Fresh footprints, looking only minutes old, led directly down the corridor toward a rusted elevator shaft. The elevator had no electricity, yet as the crew approached, the heavy doors slowly slid open on their own. The unpowered display panel flickered to life, illuminating a single number, floor 7. Every movement the crew made seemed to trigger a corresponding reaction from the structure itself, as if the building were waiting for them to reach the top. As the elevator moved upward, Emma's audio recorder picked up heavy static across every channel. Then a woman's voice cut through the interference, whispering clearly, "Welcome home." The doors opened into a dim corridor lit by yellow ceiling fixtures. Apartment doors lined both sides of the hall. Every single unit number inexplicably ended in 14. 114, 214, stretching all the way to 714. Marcus stepped out and looked through the stairwell window, expecting to see Portland below. Instead, the glass revealed an endless, void-like blackness stretching in every direction. No sky, no ground. Down the hall, apartment 714 stood out from the rest of the rotting building. Warm light glowed from beneath the door. Fresh flowers rested beside the entrance, and an old piano played faintly from inside. Marcus knocked once. The piano stopped instantly. After a moment of complete silence, the deadbolt clicked. The front door slowly opened inward, untouched by anyone. The crew had stepped completely outside the natural world. The 7th floor operated as an isolated, parasitic reality suspended entirely on its own terms. The interior looked like a perfectly preserved snapshot of a normal home, frozen in time. Dinner remained warm on the table. A television glowed with gray static. Family photographs covered the walls, though every face had been meticulously scratched away. Then Emma noticed a photograph resting in the open. This Polaroid shows the silhouettes of the 4-person documentary crew standing outside the decayed building. It was taken earlier that exact same afternoon, yet none of them remembered taking it. Searching the bedroom closets, Noah uncovered dozens of missing person posters hidden away. They spanned decades, dating back to 1964. Every victim listed 714 as their last address. The newest document in the stack was this missing person poster. It features Marcus Hale's face. If you look at the highlighted date missing line, the disappearance is scheduled for tomorrow. On the kitchen counter, Richard found a pristine police badge. It belonged to his former partner, Detective Alan Pierce, who vanished inside Blackwood 38 years earlier. The metal was spotless. Between the spotless 1980s badge and the poster of Marcus's future disappearance, the apartment appeared to be cataloging the crew's presence before they even set foot on Blackwood Street. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed from the ceiling. 3 slow knocks came from directly overhead. The sound was impossible. There was no structural space above the 7th floor for anyone to walk on. Loud knocking then shifted to the front door. Marcus looked through the peephole and saw his camerawoman, Julia, asking to be let in. But when he turned around, the real Julia was already standing directly behind him inside the apartment. Noah recalled an obscure legend: borrowed floors, anomalous pockets that manifest as perfect spatial copies. This visualization shows the phenomenon. Watch the occupant icons. The room survives by trapping the original person permanently, while a newly created duplicate expects to enter the real world. The front door unlocked itself. Another Marcus stepped into the apartment. His clothes and movements perfectly matched the original, with one terrifying exception: the copy never blinked. Out in the hallway, every other apartment door slowly opened at the exact same time. Dozens of identical human silhouettes slowly stepped into the dark, flickering corridor, all standing perfectly still and smiling. The building operates to trap the original inhabitants, releasing their unblinking duplicates back into the general population. The crew grabbed their gear and sprinted for the stairwell, but the geometry of the building was broken. Every flight they ran up looped endlessly, dumping them right back out onto another 7th floor. Listening to old police tapes on Emma's recorder, Richard realized why the 1987 cases were never solved. Investigators always searched for the people who went missing. They never thought to question the ones who came home. Marcus forced open an emergency fire door, breaking the loop. The crew spilled out onto the rooftop fire escape. Cold rain poured down, and the normal city lights of Portland stretched out below them, exactly where they should be. Halfway down the ladder, Marcus looked back. This footage shows Richard standing in the heavy rain. He slowly turns his head toward the camera, wearing an unnatural, unblinking smile. He was the duplicate. The real Richard had stayed behind in apartment 714. Demolition crews destroyed the Blackwood building 2 weeks later. They found nothing beneath the ruins, proving there was never any structural room for a 7th floor. But 6 months later, Marcus received a postcard showing Richard standing in the window of the demolished building, surrounded by silent figures. Even with the physical structure leveled, the anomaly's objective was fulfilled. A monstrous imitation now walks freely among the public, entirely undetected.